In this video, we're looking at normative political theory and empirical political theory in political science. Now, these are very important theories that define the discipline of political science and also ensures that political scientists have a perspective on how government is analyzed. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at these very important approaches in political science. Now, we begin with normative political theory. Normative political theory is a very important theory that really underscores the discipline. Now, it says here normative political theory and empirical political theory represent two major approaches on how governments around the world are analyzed. Now, this is a very important point. How do we analyze governments around the world? How do political scientists do it? Well, these are two very important ways that they achieve that analysis of government. How governments are run across the world and how they are analyzed. All right, so let's take this again. Normative political theory and empirical political theory represent two approaches, major approaches I might add, on how governments around the world are analyzed. Now, we begin with empirical. The empirical statements are factual. When we talk about empirical political theory, we talk about facts. We talk about facts. They are factual, right? They are evidence-based. They are objective as well. And of course, they provide information. They're very informational in nature. Empirical statements are very, very factual. And this is a very important point here because political scientists use empirical theory to analyze governments. They look at facts, they look at evidence, they look at logic, they look at arguments, they look at their objective in the assessment. And this is very important because this is how you get to understand how governments operate, by analyzing them in an objective way, by analyzing them based on the facts, based on the evidence and logic and arguments and the information that's available based on data. This is empirical statement, empirical theory, right? So it says here once again, empirical statements are factual, evidence-based, objective, and informative in nature. However, normative statements, normative theories are value-based, right? So in other words, based on experience. Now, this is very interesting because experiences are different depending on who you talk to, depending on environment, depending on association. It depends on a number of factors, right? And that cannot be objective. It cannot be objective. So normative statements, normative theory, normative political theory to be specific, is based on values. It's value-based, it's subjective, right? And one that cannot be proved. It cannot be proved. Because they are subjective, they're opinion-based, they're experience-based, and they cannot be proved. And you cannot analyze a government based on values, somebody's values or somebody's opinion, and in a subjective way. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to get any tangible information using subjective methods to analyze governments. Unlike normative political science theory, right, empirical political science theory is not based on guesses, beliefs, or on what one believes should be. Or I think it should be this way. I think this government is acting this way because of this and so forth, etc. No, not that. That's guessing. That's guesswork. That's you think. That's opinion, etc. Right? But on real situation, right? But on what the real situation is. So they look at what the real situation is on the ground and make an assessment and make a determination as to what is going on, as what the state of affairs is in a particular space. That's what empirical political science is all about, right? And that's why it's important for political scientists to assess governments using the empirical lens, right? So it says here, it attempts to describe the real state of affairs in the world of politics, the real state of affairs in the world of politics. What is going on out there? What are the events? What are the implications of the events? Who are the actors in the events? What is the outcome of the events, etc. Right? So it attempts to describe the real state of affairs in the world, often making a distinction, and this is a very important point here, a distinction between what is predictable on one hand and what is idiosyncratic on the other hand, right? Predictable on one hand, and what is this is unusual, what is unusual, right, on the other hand. Empirical political science attempts to explain and predict. That's what it does. It explains, and then based on the explanation, based on facts, we go back here again, based on the evidence, right? Based on facts, based on the evidence, based on objectivity, based on information, it does explain and predict. That is empirical political theory. Right, so normative political theory is another major approach, but it's based on values. And you cannot get far with making analysis on values because the outcome may not be reliable. The outcome may not be reliable. But with empirical political theory, the outcome should be reliable because it's based on real factors. It's based on facts and evidence and logic and arguments and objectivity and information. So these are the two major approaches in political science on how political scientists analyze governments around the world to understand their impact, understand their motivation, understand their policies, understand the reason why they have taken a certain action, understand the reason why they've enacted a certain law based on empirical political theory.